The planet was dying. Once lush and humming with life, Ethellar 9 had been reduced to ash-gray skies and choking winds. What remained of its native population had scattered into hidden valleys or simply vanished, taken or consumed by the corporate mining war that had left behind nothing but broken mountains and radiation scars. Commander Jason Thorne hadn't meant to land here. His dropship had suffered engine failure during a relief run through the frontier sectors. Emergency landing. Minimal supplies. No response from command. He was alone. Or so he thought. Day 3. The wind howled outside the makeshift shelter he'd constructed from scrap and thermopanels. Jason was repairing a cracked filtration unit when he saw the movement. Small, fast, ducking behind a boulder. Not a scavenger. Not a soldier. He crept toward the shape, rifle raised, but stopped cold. It was a child. A girl. She couldn't have been more than 7 or 8 years old, by human guess. Her skin was pale blue, with faint luminescent streaks running along her cheeks and arms. Her ears were long and delicate, her white hair tangled and matted with dust. She wore tattered robes and no shoes. And her eyes, wide, glowing softly, filled with a fear that made Jason lower his weapon instantly. "It's okay," he said, slowly crouching. "I'm not gonna hurt you."
She didn't speak.
Just stared. "My name's Jason," he added. "Human. Pilot." She glanced at his gear, then back to his face. Then, in a hoarse whisper, "I'm
Saya."
She wouldn't come closer that day. But the next morning, Jason found her sitting on the edge of camp, staring at his solar kettle like it was alien tech, which, to her, it probably was. He offered her water. She took it. He offered her food. She devoured it in seconds. Then, quietly, she said, "Everyone else is gone." Jason didn't ask what happened. He didn't need to. The stories of Othellar's collapse were written in every smog-stained horizon and burned-out village. Instead, he nodded. "Then we'll figure it out.
Together."
Days turned into weeks. Saya barely spoke at first, but she stayed close, helped collect scrap, picked fruit from the withered trees. She had a soft way of moving, like she was afraid to disturb the world around her. Jason taught her basic English phrases, how to use his wrist display, how to defend herself with a shock baton. She was a fast learner. Too fast, he sometimes thought, for someone her age. One night, as they sat by the fire, Saya finally asked, "Why do you help me?" Jason didn't answer at first. Then, staring into the embers, he said, "I lost my daughter 5 years ago. She would have been your age now." Saya looked at him for a long time. Then, without a word, she slid closer and leaned against his arm. On day 27, a signal finally came through. A patrol frigate had picked up his emergency beacon. ETA, 14 hours. Jason's heart lifted. He could finally get Saya somewhere safe. Off this cursed world. He found her near the edge of camp, tracing her fingers in the dust. "We're leaving," he said gently. She blinked. "Together?" "Of course." She nodded, silent for a while. Then she whispered, "Will they be nice?" Jason hesitated. "I'll make sure they are." She turned to him slowly, eyes searching his face. Then she asked, barely above a breath, "Will you be my dad?" The question hit him harder than any battlefield wound. He swallowed, throat tight. "Is that what you want?" he asked. She nodded. Jason knelt beside her, hands trembling slightly. "I'm not perfect," he said. "I can't promise I'll always know what to do. But if you want me, really want me, I'll never leave you." Saya threw her arms around his neck, and Jason held her like the galaxy had finally given him back what it once took away. When the patrol ship arrived, the officers were skeptical. "A native," one of them asked, scanning Saya. "She doesn't even have a registration chip." She does now, Jason said, holding up the data crystal he'd encoded with his emergency override clearance. She's under my guardianship. The officer raised an eyebrow. You're adopting an alien child. From a ghost world. Jason met his gaze. You want to tell her she doesn't deserve a future? Be my guest. No one argued. Months passed aboard Station Luma. Jason was reassigned to civilian logistics, and Saya was enrolled in a cross-species education program. At first, the other children stared at her glowing skin, her quiet ways. But then they started to follow her, to learn from her. She showed them how to braid leaves, how to mimic ethelaran flute calls with a straw, how to dance with hands instead of feet. She became the heart of the school. At night, when Jason tucked her in, she'd ask for stories, not of Earth or Ethelar, but of them. Tell me the one where we made fire together, she'd say. Or, tell me the story where you didn't leave me. And he always did. One day, while walking through the market, Saya tugged on his sleeve. Do you think she would have liked me? Jason paused. Your daughter. He looked at her and smiled sadly. She would have loved you. Saya took his hand and squeezed. I love you too, Dad. He didn't cry. Not then. But when they returned home, and she painted a picture of the two of them under the Ethelaran moons, both smiling, both whole, he hung it on the wall like it was sacred. Because it was. In the years to come, Saya would grow into a brilliant researcher, using her knowledge of her homeland to help restore other worlds. She'd speak at conferences, lead missions, heal entire ecosystems. But no matter how far she went, she always introduced herself the same way. My name is Saya Thorne. I'm from Ethelar 9. Then, smiling at the crowd, and I'm the daughter of a human who never left me.